Go ahead.
It's very nice to be here, although I'd much rather be in Cairo in person. Thank you very much. Thank you. The talk is in 5 parts. I'm going to give you a little bit about what the World Federation does, for those who do not know, and a little bit of detail on those 3 programs. I'm going to give a perspective on medical education in general during the pandemic, and then to talk about what accreditation is for, because you want me really to talk about the management and the progress of the World Federation program, and I'm going to talk about the present state of the World Federation Recognition of Accreditation program during the pandemic. As you know, our role is to enhance the quality of medical education worldwide. We are in official relations with the World Health Organization as the non-state actor that represents medical education and medical schools worldwide. They founded us with the World Medical Association. And as you see on that slide, we're not concerned with how you actually do education, how you deliver a lecture, how you run a problem-based group. It's concerned with the quality of education, how it's managed, the economics of it, the relationship to the political world and to the healthcare system. This is the first page, the home page of our website, and it points out that we have 3 main projects that we deal with. On the right, the World Directory of Medical Schools. In the middle, the program for standards for medical education, and I think Janet Grant will tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And on the left, accreditation, the accreditation of medical education and the support of accreditation. And in particular, we run the program for evaluating accrediting agencies worldwide. Now this and the next couple of slides are to do with the conditions of medical education during the pandemic. And I've said before that our primary concern is not with the detail of education, but Janet Grant and others are developing standards for distributed learning, very important at the moment. The quotation on the slide is from the Guardian newspaper in July, a few months ago, and someone describing at Imperial College in London a very clever method of teaching with a patient, all done at a distance using the internet and very clever tools. But then, final sentence that the doctor was quoted saying that the pandemic resulted in the first time in living memory, medical education has been truly limited by having no access at all to patients. Now, when I read this, I thought, this is nonsensical, because you cannot learn medicine without actually dealing with patients. If you took that to its natural conclusion, you would say a medical student would qualify without ever having had access to patients. And this is an article, a quotation from an article in the Annals of Internal Medicine. And the authors comment that the American Association of Medical Colleges had instructed medical schools to suspend student clerkships and had recommended that unless there is a critical healthcare workforce need, medical students should not be involved in any direct patient care. And the authors of this paper say that they disagree with the American Association of Medical Colleges. Medical schools should offer students opportunities that would benefit patient care and that would also help prevent workforce shortages. Next slide, please. This is the quotation which I have found the most valuable. You've jumped a slide. Can we go back, please? Thank you. It's from the Wisconsin Medical Journal, and the authors say that a few times in each generation, there are crises that have to be seized. And they make the point that we are healthcare professionals. We have a duty to help patients and our colleagues, even though it is safe to not do so. And the instinct is to run towards terrifying, uncertain situations rather than run away. Students demonstrate that they actually are prepared to step up, to help look after patients, and indeed to learn by doing so as well. And to quote the last paragraph, our goal is to work together, finding ways to integrate students into the fold. As medical educators, we will use the pandemic as a teaching moment while everyone strives to provide compassion, character-driven, competent care and healing for as many of our fellow human beings as we possibly can. So my personal view, I'm not quoting for the World Federation here, is that we cannot take students away from patients. We have to be careful, of course, but they must see patients and help us look after them now so that they are fully qualified and equipped to do so after their final examinations. So these are a few slides about accreditation, and what is being measured in accreditation is the medical education program suitable, and is the medical school competent in the delivery of medical education? That is, does the medical school meet the agreed standards? So in other words, it's got to meet up to standards that are agreed for the local context, and I could have chosen many examples of standards that are suitable for a medical school in a particular place. These that you see on the screen are the standards from the Working Committee on Undergraduate Medical Education of the Ministry of Health in Beijing. These are the standards for China. So that is what is being measured. How is it being measured? In other words, what are the criteria for meeting those standards? And what is the process to see if those criteria are being met? And you will see here that I've underlined criteria and underlined process. And this now is a quotation directly from our website, and you can see the web address on the slide, that guidelines for accreditation were developed jointly between the World Health Organization and the World Federation. And these guidelines are the basis not only of the documents that are listed there, of the criteria that we use to measure whether a medical school is doing the job right, and to set out what the process should be to see if the criteria are being met. And we have criteria whereby we decide whether or not an accrediting agency should be recognized. There are 20 of them, which include many things, such as the examination of the documentation to do with the accrediting agency, the documentation to do with the medical school. And we in particular have a requirement for, as you see, on-site observation and evaluation. The accrediting agency must conduct a site visit that allows them to see the operations of the medical school, a suitable team, a suitable process, suitable ways of gathering information during that site visit, and a site visit of sufficient length. And let me just say at this moment, I hope the organizers of today's meeting will make these slides available for all participants so you can look at them at leisure. Now, why do we believe the site visit is important? And this slide covers the particular point. Why is the site visit essential? I have many examples I could give you of why site visits are essential in assessing medical education, but this is just one. I will not say where this medical school is, but I will tell you that this picture is a very fair representation of exactly what it looks like. And so you can see it is extraordinarily grand, and clearly things must be very good inside such a splendid building. But once we were invited inside the building, we were told, well, look in this room here and look in that room there. But I opened all the other doors to all the other rooms, and they were all empty. In other words, there was the facade of a medical school that was apparently working very well, few demonstrations set up in selected rooms, but in the rest of the building, there was nothing happening at all. So without being on site to actually see the medical school, you could not have known that. So we do believe very strongly that a site visit is essential in accreditation and during our assessment process of an accrediting agency. And so we, at the moment, have said to people that, of course, we may need to assess medical schools as they are at the moment, but you need to follow that up with a site visit once travel to get to see them is actually possible. Next slide, please. So this, just to show you where progress is, the countries that are colored dark blue are the ones which have agencies which have recognition by the World Federation. The ones in light blue are others where the assessment process is on its way and will continue very soon as travel becomes possible. And there are only probably 3 major areas in the world where there is apparently not very much progress. One is in Western Europe, one is in Africa, and the other is in parts of Southeast Asia. But we have progress in all of those. And if I show you this slide in 2 years' time, I think much more of it will be colored dark blue. Could I have the next slide, please? Therefore, in conclusion, I leave you with just 4 thoughts. Of course, distance learning, distributed learning will both have an essential role in medical education and always will have, but also students will always need to see patients. We need to maintain high standards for medical education at all times. The pandemic must not allow us to be slack in the application of those standards. The maintenance of standards includes verification that they're being used, so the accreditation of medical schools and medical education. And in evaluating education, we need to see what is going on. Site visit is essential. If we cannot do the site visit now, we must do it when it becomes possible. Thank you. So that is the end of my presentation. And as I say, I very much hope that all participants will be able to see the slides, that they can be distributed to all participants. Thank you.